Go.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Assalamu alaikum everyone, good to see you all here. MashaAllah, lots of sisters, don't know where the brothers are. But, okay, so as you know, we're going to do the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi. And before we get started on this, we're saying 40 hadith. So what actually is a hadith? Does anyone want to tell me what they know about hadith? What does hadith mean? Any volunteers? What does hadith mean? Yeah, go for it.
Teaching from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Teaching from the life of the Prophet. Okay, so basically, hadith just means something that's narrated or something that's reported, something that happened. Now, usually when we use it over here, it will mean, as we said, the teaching from the life of the Prophet, or it could be something which came from one of his companions, or even one of the companions, or going back to the Prophet. Now, why do we need hadith? We have the Quran. Why do we need hadith? Anyone? So we have, yes, go for it.
It's better to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.
It's better to follow the sunnah because we have the Quran, but the hadith and the sunnah of the Prophet, as you said, the way of the Prophet is an explanation of the Quran. It teaches us, actually how the Prophet the Prophet lived the Quran, as the wife of the Prophet said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His manners were the Quran. Because nowadays, as some of you may know, there are people out there who want to just follow the Quran. They call themselves the Quranists or something like that. And the reality is, can anyone find the verse in the Quran where it says to pray 5 times a day? No, it doesn't exist. So in the Quran it says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, establish the prayer. And it says in many places to pray, but it doesn't, the actual details of how to do it, it doesn't come in the Quran. Similarly, in fact, even things like Eid, it doesn't actually come explicitly in the Quran. So a lot of the very important stuff actually come in the Hadith. The Quran is the main thing, and then the explanation of the Quran is the Hadith. And now, how was so as we said, Hadith is report. Now, usually, as Ali said, usually Hadith will be a report of the Sunnah of the Prophet. Does anyone know very quickly what this word Sunnah? What might this mean? Yes.
The way of the Prophet.
The way of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, now when it comes to Sunnah, what does Sunnah actually mean? So, for example, the Prophet used to ride a camel. Does anyone want to start riding a camel here? Does that count as following the Sunnah? Is that what? Because his way was that, okay, when he used to travel, he would ride a camel. What do we think? Yes?
Is there a difference between the Sunnah and a Sunnah?
No, what I would say is that so when Sunnah was when they first started recording Sunnah, they did it only of those things which the Prophet did in the capacity of being a prophet. So not necessarily all the things that were done as part of his society, what his society used to do. For example, also, they were Arabs. They were living in the desert. They used to wear turbans. Now, wearing a turban is that a sunnah? Not necessarily, because those were all part of the lifestyle of the time. Now we come in our time and we have different. We dress differently. For example, like some people might say, look, you're wearing the trousers, like that's not following the way of the Prophet. Again, this is a misunderstanding, because the Sunnah is those things which the Prophet did in the capacity of being a prophet, right? Those things which were divinely inspired to him, not necessarily those things which were just the way of his people. So that's why there's a differentiation between what we call Sunnatul Huda, which is the Sunnah of guidance, and Sunnatul Ada, which is the Sunnah of like habit and the way of the people. Okay, so now just very quickly we'll very quickly go through this as well. with hadith and sunnah, what are there are three types of sunnah. Does anyone know what these three types are? And now we're not talking about the one which isn't like in the capacity of being a prophet. We mean the things the prophet did, the things narrated from the prophet which were in the capacity of being a prophet. There are three types basically. Does anyone know what we're talking about here? Yes.
I know one of them is Sunnatul Wajib.
Okay, that's not exactly what I meant. So what I meant is anything the prophet did, what the prophet did as a prophet, in the capacity of being a prophet. What else? Okay, what he did. What's next?
What he said.
What he said. Okay, there's one more. There's the third one. Does anyone know what the third one is? Maybe the third one might not be as easy to get. Yes.
What he saw but didn't.
Exactly. What he approved of. So there are those three things. What he did, said, or approved of. Okay, so now moving on with Sunnah again. Now, as you guys, as we said, the people started collecting everything that's narrated from the Prophet. Now again, one could ask, well, we're here in the 21st century in Birmingham. The Prophet was in the 7th century or 6th century in Arabia. If someone says to us, this is what the Prophet did, how do we know that's true? Like, why should we believe them? Maybe they could be making it up. Any suggestions?
There's a chain of narration. Clear
Yeah, exactly. There's a chain of narration. So there is a chain of narration, and I'm very, very quickly going to go over some conditions here. I don't want to make it too heavy, and also I want to keep it within the time. But I'm going to go over the conditions here. So there were some conditions which were set by the narrators of the Sunnah, the narrators of the Hadith. The first condition, as you said, there has to be a connected chain. So it can't be. So for example, let's say that I say I heard from Queen Victoria that she said that she heard from this person, that he heard from him, that he heard from him, and so on until it gets to the final source. What's wrong with that?
You haven't met the Queen.
I haven't met Queen Victoria, right? There's clearly a disconnection there. So that's the first condition. The condition is that there has to be a connected chain going all the way back. The whole chain has to be connected. Okay, second condition. Each person in this chain has to be known to be reliable. So for example, if there's someone who told a lie, that's it. Their narrations will never be taken. If there's someone who used to cheat, let's say, their narrations will never be taken. And also, the other point here is, usually what do we say? We say innocent until proven guilty. In the science of hadith, it's the other way around. You're not trustworthy until you're proven to be trustworthy. So the second condition is what? They have to be, in Arabic it's called adala. In English I would say maybe
justice. Justice.
Okay, that has the same root word, but it's actually it's a slightly different meaning. That's adl. So adl is justice, as you said. Adala is something. Maybe you could say uprightness, shall we say? They're reliable and they don't tell lies and stuff like that. As I said, even one blemish, shall we say, on a person's profile, and that's it. Anything that comes from them is left. It can't be taken. Okay, condition number 3 is in Arabic is called dab. In English, maybe you could say precision. Let's say precision. So people who would take hadith, they have to document it, right? So how would they document it? Does anyone know? How would someone record something? Okay, if I hear from my teacher, I hear a hadith, how am I going to record it so I can transmit it to other people? Yes.
You write it down.
I write it down or
Memorize it.
or memorize it. So there's two options. Either I write it down or I memorize it. Now, the people back then used to have very good memories. It said actually, somebody came to Imam al-Bukhari. Has anyone heard of Imam al-Bukhari? Someone came to him and said, did you know that your teacher Ishaq ibn Rahway, who was the teacher of Imam al-Bukhari, did you know that he has memorized 80,000 hadith? How many? 80,000. And Imam al-Bukhari said, perhaps it could be there's someone in this age who's memorized 200,000. And they said he was talking about himself. So he had memorized 200,000. There's another one, a famous scholar who was at the same level as Imam al-Bukhari. His name was Abu Zur'a al-Razi. Once a man came to him, and this is a bit strange. He said to him, my friend has said that his wife is divorced if Abu Zur'a hasn't memorized 100,000 hadith. So now he came to Abu Zur'a, who's a scholar. He came to me and he said, so I need to find out. Like I need to tell my friend. Like is his wife divorced or not? And Abu Zur'a said to him, like, that's the most. Don't tell your friend not to do such stupid things. Like why is he saying that? Like that's a stupid thing to say. But tell him that no, his wife's not divorced. So basically, he's memorized 100,000 hadith. So these were the types of memories that they used to have. Now, do you have to memorize? Not necessarily. You can write it down as well, and writing down is perfectly valid also. But you have to be obviously precise with the writing. So they said that once a person was writing something, and he said in the chain it said that the person was reading. He was reading from someone's reading from his own handwriting. And he said, from so and so, from so and so, from so and so, an Rasulillah, from the Messenger of Allah, anillah, from Allah, an rajulin, from a man. So they're saying, like, what is this? Like, why he's narrating from him, from this companion, from the Prophet, from Allah, from a man. What does that mean? So then they found out that the guy couldn't read his own handwriting. What he'd written was, anillah azza wa jal. Not anillah an rajulin. From Allah azza wa jal basically means like Allah the Most High. So these kind of things, this is where people need to be at a very high level in their precision. Their writing needs to be accurate, and all their memory needs to be accurate if they're memorizing. And yes, so there's a famous story of one of the scholars of hadith. His name was Ibn Lahi'a. What happened to him was he didn't have a good memory, so he used to write down. And then towards the end of his life, his library burnt down. So now all the scholars of hadith have documented this. And again, this shows you how precise they were, how accurate they were. They know everything about each and every narrator. They all know now that from this person, Ibn Lahi'a, from this person, anything he narrates after the age of, I can't remember, 60 something or something like that, when his library burnt down, anything after that, it's weak, you can't take it. Why? Because his library is burnt down, and his precision, where he records stuff is in his books. His library is burnt down, he doesn't have it anymore, so you can't. So anything he narrates after that particular age, it's theft. Okay, so those are the three conditions. Very quickly, if there's a connected chain of narration, if everyone in the chain is reliable, and if they're all precise as well, either with their memory or with their writing, is there anything that's left? Like, is there any chance still that there could be a problem? What do we think?
Is it if only one person has said that?
It's how many people narrated the same hadith?
Not necessarily. Well, I mean, why would that be? Because if okay, let's say if I'm reliable, I hope I'm reliable, and I narrate from Hamad, who is also reliable, and he narrates from Abdurrahman, who's also reliable, and he gets it from Harun, who's also reliable. So we're all reliable, and we've all written it down, and we've got a connected chain as well. What's wrong with that?
Doesn't change to the Prophet.
Sorry?
Doesn't change to the Prophet.
Oh, I mean, obviously this example is not going to the Prophet, but yes, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So actually, this is for most, this would be fine, right? Leave it at that, that's fine. But in fact, for Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, as everyone's heard of Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim, right? They've written the two most authentic books. For them, they added two more conditions. They said that there has to be there can't be a contradictory report which is equally reliable. So for example, okay, so now we said, okay, so there's Harun from Hamad from Abdurrahman, let's say, and on this side, I don't know, any sisters, can you volunteer your names? One let's say Halima from Tanim from, I don't know, Zainab. Okay, so everyone here is reliable, and everyone here is precise. They documented everything properly, right? And they've got a connected chain. And everyone here is reliable and they've documented everything properly and they've got a connected chain. So both are equally reliable, but for some reason they contradict each other. So Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, they said that if we find a solid chain of narration, but we find another solid chain of narration, and there's a difference between the two of them, either we have to determine which one is slightly more authentic, which one is more authentic, and we'll take that one, and we'll leave the other one. Or we have to find a third one which supports one of the two. So say we have now two reliable chains saying one thing, and then one reliable one saying the other one. So now we've got two this side and one this side, we'll leave this one. That one becomes inauthentic. And you know what they said? They said, in fact, if we find that they're both equally reliable, but they're contradictory, guess what? We need both of them. So you can see, Imam al-Bukhari, he wrote his book of authentic hadith. Everything in there, you can't really fault it. Imam Muslim as well, everything in there, it's impossible to find. It's basically impossible. If you find something that's in both Imam al-Bukhari's book and Imam Muslim's book, like, do you guys get it? With the conditions I've just mentioned to you, is it really possible that? And now both of them have done it. Like sometimes it's just in one, sometimes it's just in the other. But what if now both Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim have narrated the same thing in their authentic books? I mean, it's basically impossible from an academic perspective. Okay, we're not talking about divine. Like, we're not saying in Islam you have to believe that. But from an academic perspective, as far as if you do your research and everything, you can't really fault these. Anyway, those are 4 conditions. There's actually 1/5 one as well, but I don't want to go too long with these conditions. I'll leave that to you. I mean, you can all try and work out what's left. I mean, after connected chain, reliable, each person is reliable, each person is precise. There's no contradiction between reliable chains as well. What's left? There's a 5th condition. I'm not going to go into that now because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Very quickly as well, compare that to, say, other religions. And again, now in Islam, we actually have a verse of the Quran which says, we shouldn't make fun of other religions. We shouldn't laugh at other religions. But this is not. We're not trying to make fun or laugh here. We're just saying from an authenticity point of view. If we look at what's more authentic in Islam, or maybe, for example, in Christianity, there's the Bible, and they have a lot of different Bibles. And for example, it says, for example, the Bible of I don't know, Matthew. Who is Matthew? We don't even know what his second name is. In Islam, there has to be, that authentic chain of narration, and each person, you have to know them inside out. Each person, they know every single thing about them. That's why I said, for example, the judge who used to write all these things down. Every scholar of hadith, they have documented this, that when he was this age, his library burnt down. So anything after that, we can't take it. Now, do we have the same in other religions for their holy scripture? Do they have the same kind of thing? We would find that no, they don't actually. And one of the famous scholars, maybe one of the companions, one of the scholars, he said that Allah has shown His mercy on this religion, on this nation, with the isnad. He's blessed us with the isnad. The isnad is the chain of narration. So it's one of the special things that Allah has gifted us with. And also there was another time when someone said to one of the scholars, "Can you narrate the hadith to me without the isnad? Can you narrate the hadith to me without telling me the isnad?" And he said, "Are you going to climb to the roof without a ladder?" Like you can't get the hadith in Islam. You can't get it unless you've got the authentic chain of narration going to it. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense. And again, you guys can see how much effort they used to put in. Like Imam al-Bukhari, I just mentioned him once. Imam al-Bukhari, he would travel. He traveled all over the world, and he wrote his book. It's not even such a big book because obviously to get hadith on these conditions that he said, it's very difficult. So there aren't that many. There's only 2,000 hadith or something. But it took him 16 years. Why did it take him 16 years? Because he would make so much effort for each one. He would keep checking again and again and again. And before he'd include anything, he would actually do ghusl. He would take a bath, and he would pray two rak'at of sunnah, and then he would finally include it. So they used to make so much effort to make sure that everything is authentic. So nowadays, we should try and live up to that. shall we say? You know, because nowadays we get some people who they'll just say, oh, the Prophet said this, the Prophet said that. What's your source? I don't actually know. I can't remember. Somebody said it somewhere. I remember somebody said it somewhere. I don't know where it comes from, but somebody said it somewhere. This is, in a sense, we're letting down, you know, all that effort that they put in to get it to this level of authenticity. And in Islam, the level of authenticity is so superior to any other religion, as I said. Now, you know, people come and they just say things. Does it go back to the Prophet? Does it not? For some people, who cares? I mean, it makes sense. Like, so whether it goes back to the Prophet or not, let's just say it anyway. This is, again, as I said, this is letting down all the effort that was made in the past, and it's basically the same as what's done in any other religion. Just say, okay, this is what everyone knows, so let's just go with this. So in Islam, we have to be very careful about this. Anytime and by the way, this is another point. You know when someone says something, and especially if they're the speaker, and then people are scared to ask them, where did you get it from? In some cultures, that's seen as bad manners. You know, the teacher says, oh, the Prophet said this. And then someone says to him, where did the Prophet say that? Which book is it in? And then everyone will be like, what's wrong with you? How dare you ask him? The reality is this was never the case in the past. You know, even in the time of people like Imam al-Bukhari and so on, everyone would ask, you know, where is this coming from? Because at the end of the day, Islam is, as I said, from an academic sense, Islam is very superior. Everything is authentic. Everything has a source. So we should never be scared to ask, where does this come from? And if we don't know where it comes from, then it has to be left. Okay, so anyway, moving on, because we're running out of time. We'll go to the 40 hadith. So the first hadith, does anyone know what the first hadith is? Okay, so I'm very quickly going to read the first hadith in Arabic, because obviously, as I said at the beginning, those who attend everything will get some sort of certificate as well, that, okay, you've attended all the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi. So so for that purpose, at least I'll read it in Arabic. So the first hadith, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. عن أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته لدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. So Umar ibn al-Khattab is narrating from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, every action is based on its intention. Every action is based on its intention. So whoever intends something for Allah and His Messenger, and in this example it's whoever's emigration is for Allah and His Messenger, then his emigration will be for Allah and His Messenger. And whoever's emigration was to and whoever's emigration is for something worldly, or it's now it's in the hadith it says to get married, and I'll explain why that comes up. Or it was to get married, then the emigration will be for what was intended. And you can see also how the Arabic does it here, that for the first part where it was for Allah and His Messenger, it actually repeats. If it was for Allah and His Messenger, it will be for Allah and His Messenger. For the second part, where it's for something worldly, they did it for something worldly, it's almost like it's not even worth repeating. It just says, whoever's emigration was for something of this world, his emigration will be for what he intended. So, why does it say to get married? Because the context of this is that when the people emigrated from, they don't know where did the emigration, from where to where? What was the emigration? Makkah to Medina, right? So when they emigrated from Makkah to Medina, it said that there was some people, maybe one person or two people, who had emigrated actually because there was someone in Medina that they wanted to marry. So the rest of the people who've given up all their property, they've left everything behind and gone to Medina, they made all that effort, they were saying to the Prophet, like, are these people, they didn't do it for Allah, are they going to get the same reward as us? And that's when the Prophet said, no. Whoever's emigration is for Allah and His Messenger, his emigration will be for Allah and His Messenger. And whoever's emigration is for something else, it will be for something else. Okay. Very quickly, I'll just go through a few points I made about this. So as we can see very clearly from this, if someone's intention, if someone's niyyah is good, if someone's niyyah is okay, their action will be okay. If someone's niyyah is not okay, the action will not be okay. And now Imam al-Nawawi actually mentions three types, three possibilities. When someone's intention is good, when someone's intention is okay. So this is not for the person who's got a bad intention. This was the person who's got a proper intention, a good intention. The first possibility is that they will do something for the sake of Allah in order to save themselves from hell. The second possibility is that someone does something for Allah to get paradise. So what's the first one? To save themselves from hell. Second possibility? Get paradise. What's the third possibility? The third possibility is that they do it for Allah simply because He is Allah. They do something for Allah simply because Allah is, because it's for the haqq of Allah. That Allah is the creator. Allah is the one who made. Allah is the one who the one who created everything. Allah is the one who we need to worship. Allah is the one we need to be grateful to. So the third possibility is what? They do it simply for because it's the right of Allah. And which one do you guys think is the best?
The third one.
The third one, yeah. And in fact, this is what the Prophet ﷺ used to do himself. How do we know that?
Because he was he's already guaranteed paradise, and he would still stand up in the night prayer until his feet were swollen. And when he was asked why does he do that, it's because he said he wanted to be a grateful servant.
Exactly. So the Prophet is not he's already been guaranteed he's not going to enter hell. So he's not doing it because he's scared of entering hell. He's already been guaranteed he's going to enter paradise, so he's not doing it necessarily to get paradise, but actually simply because it's the right of Allah. So this is no doubt the best possibility. As Harun mentioned, that's a good evidence for that.
Can you also say because Allah is alive and powerful? Is that relevant?
Yes, yeah, that's because Allah is the most powerful. Yes, you could say that as well. Yes, because Allah is the most powerful, and we are, we are limited in every faculty. We are limited, whereas in everything Allah is unlimited. For example, in sight, in hearing, in knowledge, in power, as you said. So yes, very good point. Okay. What if? Okay, so now we've mentioned. Okay, if someone does it purely for Allah. What if someone does something partly for Allah and partly for a worldly benefit? So, for example, let's take an example. What if it's time for prayer, and there are two mosques near to my house, equally distant from my house. Okay, but I know that in one of the mosques today they're giving out free food. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to go to that one. So I go there and enjoy my free food, and then I come back home. So now we ask the question: do I still get the same reward? Like if I was just going to the mosque, pray, come back. Whereas now it's like, okay, I was going to the mosque, but I deliberately said, okay, I'm going to go to that mosque because there's free food there. What do we think?
No, because your intention's not solely for Allah anymore. There's an aspect.
Good point. Yeah. So there's a difference of opinion over this. Some scholars actually say no, you get the same reward still, because it's done for Allah, but it's like a secondary thing that okay, you're going to get another benefit. Some scholars, a lot of scholars actually say, like Hamad mentioned, you will not get the same level of reward then, because what they base it on is there's a hadith where the Prophet said, he narrated that Allah said, "Ana aghna shuraka." I am the most wealthy, and I'm the most independent. Aghna is like, how will we say this in English? I'm the most independent. I'm the most. I don't need anyone else. Put it this way: I don't need anyone else. So I don't need any other partners in business or partners in trade, shall we say? فَمَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَشْرَكَ فِيهِ غَيْرِي. So whoever does an action and he shares it with someone else, or he shares it with something else, then I have no need for that. So there's a narration that Allah said this, that I don't need anyone else. So if I don't need anyone, so if someone comes and they do an action for Allah, but then they're also bringing someone else into it, then Allah says, well, I don't need that. So some scholars say that actually no, you won't get the same level reward. Some will say that you will. But anyway, we'll very quickly finish up now. The last couple of points I want to make. The intention is so important because the difference between, for example, Imam an-Nawawi actually mentions in his explanation of this, he said, you could get reward for locking the door. When you go into your house, you close the door, you could get reward for locking the door. You could get a reward for turning off the lights at night. How is that possible? How could you get reward for when you're going to sleep, you turn the lights off? Like that's something, I mean, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to turn the light off anyway. How can I get reward for turning the light off?
You don't want to be wasteful with your. I guess they will use candles then, or oil.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, exactly. You won't be wasteful, and similarly with locking the door. I mean, it's part of Islam is that we take care of ourselves, right? That's like you don't harm yourself. So when you go into your house, close the door. Obviously, you're going to lock it, and you just think that intention, bringing the intention into something, can make you get reward. And that's what as they say, we want to make those things that are habits can be turned into worship by bringing the intention. And on the other hand, but the problem is now, as I mentioned actually in my daily reminder, the alphabetical reminder, shameless plug, everyone go watch my alphabetical reminders, that the problem is now actually sometimes people are trying to do the opposite. So what are we supposed to do? We'll go ahead in about a minute. Well, what are we supposed to do? What we should actually do is, as I said, bring the intention. We make the intention for in many aspects of our life. Okay, I'm here studying. What are we studying? Someone shout out something. Biomed. I'm here studying biomed because I'm going to save the environment, and I'll just bring the intention in and I'll do it for Allah's sake, and there we go. You get a reward for that. And similarly, as I said, very simple thing: turning the light off before I go to sleep. I'm going to do that anyway. Locking the door when I come into the house. I'm going to do that anyway, but I can actually get reward for that if I bring the intention. The problem, the thing is now, actually sometimes people are trying to do the opposite. What do I mean by that? People sometimes are trying to make worship into convenience and habits. So now we start talking about, for example, we're fasting now, right? Now everyone gets so excited because now they've discovered there's some health benefits to fasting, and everyone's saying, we fast and then it's going to improve our health and blah 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 blah. It's almost like a lot of actions we're trying to make them part of our convenience, and that's not what Allah wants. And this has gone such a level. I remember once we were discussing this sometime. Like people even say that about sujood. Has anyone heard anything about sujood, like prostration?
Oh, yeah.
What have you heard?
Apparently, it's good for your joints.
It's good for your joints. They say something like that. Some say that your forehead discharges, negative energy goes out. It's good for your back. So all these things. Perfect. Yes, that's the one. So all these things. This is not what Allah wants. And the thing is, what we always have to remember, we always have to think of everything this way. Everything in Islam, before thinking of the worldly benefit, we think about why we're doing it in the first place, which is because Allah has commanded. As we look in, for example, if with basic example, we're not allowed to eat pork, right? Everyone knows that. Why are we not allowed to eat pork? The first thing that should always come to our mind is because Allah has told us not to. And then after that, if you want to say, well, it's not healthy, pigs carry infectious diseases, blah blah blah, fine, you can say that if you want to. But the first thing that should always come to our mind is because Allah has told us not to. I mean, if it's based on the other things, what if tomorrow they discover that actually pork is more healthy than beef, let's say? What are we going to do then? Are we all going to start eating pork? Of course not, right? So at the end of the day, we should always remember, anything we do and anything we leave, it should always be firstly because Allah has commanded us to. And with that, we will...
Ask a question.
Yes, go for it.
Just for those who don't know, what is the 40 Hadith Imam Nawawi, and who was Imam Nawawi?
Good question. So the 40 Hadith of Imam Nawawi, so Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim and all the others, they've actually got books which are what we call them musnada, in the sense that they actually have the connection, they have the chain going back to so on and so on and so on, going back to each person until it goes to the Prophet. Imam al-Nawawi, he came and compiled 40 hadith because there are some narrations, although they're not very authentic, but there are some narrations which say that there are a special 40. Whoever learns 40 hadith, they will be, there's some virtue for them, I can't remember exactly. That's not so authentic anyway. But the point is, Imam An-Nawawi, he compiled these 40 hadith because the whole religion is based on these. Everything is based on, I mean, obviously the Quran first, but then these are comprehensive. They cover everything in the religion. So anyone who learns these 40 hadith, they will have a very, very, very good foundation, because you've got the Quran and then you've got these 40 hadith, and they cover basically everything in Islam that is essential to us. So if we learn these 40 hadith, that's a very, very good start. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else? Cool, let's leave it there. Jazakumullah khairan for listening. See you all tomorrow, inshallah.
We've got about 10 minutes till it's class time.